Okay, that was the end of part one. Now we're on to part two on Chesnutt. None of this is to say that Dr. Miller's a bad guy. He's not. He's a deeply admirable man, and we'll see how admirable he is really when we get to the end of the novel. Okay, but that ties into the question about Baby Dodie. I don't want to say any more because I don't want to spoil the ending if you haven't gotten there yet. Okay, but more on what happens to Miller at the end of the book. Okay, but let's have a look at Josh Green. This is an interesting point because there is some different viewpoints about Josh Green in the class. So look over on page 218. And here's one of the occasions where you see Miller and Green having communication here. And which side is right? It could go either way almost. Look at this. This is the very end of chapter 32. I think this is where you left off for this particular discussion. Okay, so Green is going around looking for a leader. We need, white people are killing us in the streets in this riot. We need to take up arms and defend ourselves. Give me liberty or give me death, right, as Patrick Henry said. Maybe Josh Green is this truly American hero. We're willing to fight and die for our freedom. But you have Miller's response when he's being called on to be a leader. Very bottom of 218, about a page from the end of the chapter. My advice is not heroic, but I think it is wise. In this riot, we are placed as we should be in a war. We have no territory, no base of supplies, no organization, no outside sympathy. We stand in the position of a race, in a case like this, without money and without friends. Our time will come. The time will come when we can command respect for our rights. When has white America in the South ever shown respect for the rights of African Americans? Not at this time. Again, this might be Miller sounding just a little naive. But it is not yet in sight. Give it up, boys, and wait. Good may come of this after all. We say, okay, Miller's got a good point. There's no keep your powder dry, as we say. Live to die another day, something like that. Whatever cliche you want to use. Maybe something like this is going on. And he's on his own mission. He's trying to save what's nearest and dearest to him, his family, his wife, and his child, right? Okay, maybe this sounds pretty sensible. But then look at Josh Green over on page 219, his response to Miller. All right, sir, this is the last paragraph of chapter 32. All right, sir, if I don't live to do it, I'll know it'll be tended to right. Now we're going out to the cotton compress, get a lot of colored men together, and if the white folks disturb me, I shouldn't be surprised if there be a mix-up. And if there is, me and one white man will stand before the judgment throne of God this day. We know who that is, right? McBain. And it won't be me what'll be afraid of the judgment. Wow. Okay. Does that seem accurate? Does that seem like Chesnutt may well be presenting Josh Green as being in a position to, justified murder here? Okay, maybe. Come along, boys. These gentlemen may have something to live for. But as for my part, I'd rather be a dead black man any day than live a dog. Does Josh's bravery, his being willing to stand by principle no matter what happens, Does that kind of stir your heart somehow? Do you look at Josh and say, wow, there is a brave, incredibly courageous man and a man of principle? That's one thing. In these years, generals of armies and things like that weren't convinced that black men had it in them to fight. They weren't sure if they'd be brave enough. And that was the concern during the Civil War. Should we enlist black people to fight? And that was a big ongoing discussion. And they had, in the opinion of many, many people, Civil War generals in the North, that they had proven themselves in battle. So I think Josh Green's character, to a degree, is drawing on that character of the boy, I can't think. Drawing on that character of the Civil War soldier, okay? All right, so do with that what you will, okay? Okay, so now look over on page 234. 234. This is a wonderfully ripe passage. There is a lot in here. Okay, it's in chapter 35. It's this long section. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you to shut off, press pause on this video, and then look at and analyze this passage carefully, because Josh Green in this passage is being imbued with a number of remarkable characteristics. And I want you to read slowly and carefully, read through, circle all the powerful words, pregnant words, the words or phrases that really seem to suggest the kind of man that Josh Green has become. Okay, so just press pause, take a few minutes, read through, beginning where it says Josh Green, the tallest and biggest of them all, okay, and then skip down to where it says, but they that do violence must expect to suffer violence. Okay, that section there. Read that and highlight or circle all the sections that look important somehow. Okay, and then we'll come back and talk about it. Okay, hope you've paused and had a chance to have a look at what I think is a fantastic passage here. So let's go through and look at this. Okay, Josh Green, so this is the scene, right? Josh Green's company has been holed up, and they decide to take a one last stand and just come and fight those who didn't surrender. And this is what happens. Josh is not one who's going to surrender. Remember from the very beginning, he wanted revenge for McBain having killed his father and driven his poor mother mad, okay? Okay, Josh Green. Okay, as I'm reading about Josh Green, what kind of characteristics does Chesnutt seem to be wanting to imbue in his character, all right? That's the question here. Josh Green, the tallest and biggest of them all, had not apparently been touched So they all come bursting out of the door and they all get shot at, but completely misses Josh Green. Someone might use the word miraculous. Okay, that's a hint for you. Some of the crowd paused in involuntary admiration of this black giant, famed on the wars for his strength, sweeping down upon them, a smile upon his face, right? Okay, what does that suggest if he's smiling? Does that sound like a foolish person? You know, okay. What's going on here, all right? That's for you to try to answer. His eyes lit up with a rapt expression which seemed to take him out of mortal ken. So he's not mortal anymore. Does that mean he's immortal? Okay. What kind of people all through history, all different kinds of literatures and mythologies and religions and everything, when a man is no longer a mere mortal? Okay. Is Josh achieving the stature of a hero, like a hero of antiquity in Greek mythology, or maybe even a biblical hero? Okay. Just file that away for right now, all right? This impression was heightened by his apparent immunity from the shower of lead, which less susceptible persons had continued to pour at him. You know, okay, speaking of, right, biblical heroes, what this does for me, it sounds almost like Moses leading the people to the promised land. And the Egyptian soldiers are coming to get Moses and the Israelites, and there they are at the Red Sea. And the Red Sea parts at Moses' command. Okay, biblical heroes are capable of these kinds of miracles. So the question is Chesnutt imbuing Josh Green with this kind of heroism, this kind of heroism of a demigod, right? Okay. Okay. Armed with a huge Bowie knife, and it just so happens I have a Bowie knife, okay? This was my father's. See, it even says on it, original Bowie knife. He must have gotten this at a museum gift shop somewhere when he was a kid. I would never bring this to campus. Do you see how big this sucker is? Okay, this is a Bowie knife. It's huge. So here's Josh Green charging. I mean, it's a big knife, don't get me wrong, but this is all he's got. This is all he's got. And he's charging right at McBain with this thing. Okay. So, where did I leave off? Okay. Armed with a huge Bowie knife, a relic of the Civil War, which he had carried on his person for many years for a definite purpose. Okay, remember what I was saying about the Civil War and African-American men having the first opportunity really ever to prove themselves as American soldiers? This is a relic of those times. This is Chesnutt's way of saying, hey, we black men, Chesnutt after all, if in case this wasn't clear for anyone, you know, Chesnutt is a black man. This is the power and strength we black men have proven ourselves capable of wielding. You know, we fought for our freedom. We've done it before. 30 years ago, we fought and killed and died for our freedom. We can do it again. And maybe Josh Green is proof of that. You know, maybe, just maybe, that comes out of this passage. Okay. Which he had carried on his person for many years with a definite purpose, and which he had kept sharpened to a razor edge. This thing is actually still really pretty sharp, so I got to be careful as I'm swinging it around. He reached the line of the crowd. All but the bravest shrank back. Like a wedge, he dashed through the mob, which parted instinctively before him. There's more Moses imagery, parting the Red Sea. reached the point where Captain McBain, the bravest man in the party, stood waiting to meet him. A pistol flame flashed in his face, but he went on. He gets shot in the face, and that doesn't even stop him. And he went on. Raising his powerful right arm, I'm left-handed, sorry. Raised his powerful right arm, buried the knife to the hilt in the heart of his enemy. Okay, I think it paused there for a second. I'm running out of batteries here. Raised his powerful arm, buried his knife to the hilt in the heart of his enemy. When the crowd dashed forward to wreak vengeance on his dead body, they found him with a smile on his face. Okay? Often Christian saints and martyrs, when they've been martyred, they die at complete peace and contentment because they know they've done God's will and they know nothing can stop them. They know they are blessed by God's power, even as they are dying horribly. So the question is that the kind of hero that Josh is? Is he a Christian saint, a Christian martyr? Or is he like an Old Testament warrior hero, like Moses, something like that? I don't know. Josh seems to have all those different kinds of elements in him. One of the two died as the fool dieth. Which was it, or was it both? Here's Chesnutt kind of equivocating here. He knew how incredibly dangerous it was to come across as inciting black violence on white people. So he kind of hedges here, and he says, I don't know. I'll leave it up to you. If you read that previous paragraph, for me anyway, for my eyes, such as they are, it's hard not to read Josh as some kind of superhuman hero, capable of standing up for himself and fighting the way so many black people in the past have, and maybe the way black people are going to have to going forward into the 20th century. I think there's a little bit of Malcolm X in Josh, if that makes sense. Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord, and it had not been left to him. Okay, so that raises another question then. Is Josh Green an instrument of God's divine justice? I guess the question we have to ask is that did McBain deserve to die for everything that he had done, being in the Ku Klux Klan, murdering people, feeling proud of it, inciting more murder, doing more murder himself in this riot, inciting other people to murder? Okay, so the question is, was Josh somehow divinely appointed, an instrument of God's will to do away with this evil man, McBain? I'll let you decide that. I just want to suggest that there is some evidence for an interpretation along those lines. Chesnutt is just kind of sowing some seeds or giving us a few breadcrumbs that we can pick up and try to put together an interpretation with. So here's where I'll leave things. I'll see you again. I'll be giving a couple more lectures about Baby Dodie in the coming days, but we'll leave this one right here. So I hope you're enjoying the book so far. I know it's a little dense and complicated, but I really think it's well worth the time that we put into it. Okay, take care then.